Oh,
My
good to
partner
see.
is a nursing home administrator too, so that's his background.
Oh, yeah, that
Yeah, I'm
helps.
I'm the nurse and he does the other paperwork that I don't like to do.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's awesome. Well, we'll keep you in mind, Iris, too, if we hear of any opportunities in that space. And thanks for sharing. Thanks for coming on
Thank
when you
you.
can.
Thank you.
Right on, guys. Well, happy Aloha Friday. Welcome to another Coffee Talk Friday. Really, I don't have it much news or updates, although we did have a call with the National Private Lenders Association yesterday. And there's actually big news in our space, the private lending space, where um we in the previous weeks we were talking about how they were talking about this year we might have our first rated security. Um, and actually it seems like that has happened. So we have the first ever rated securitization in our space. So the loans that we do, right, the fix and flip loans, before they have been securitized, pulled together by these aggregators. One of them is Turok Capital Partners, which is was founded by John Beecham, who's also on the advisory council for the NPLA, and he's a pioneer in the private lending space. And why is this important, right? Is it's important because it's guys like him that have brought in institutional capital into the private lending space that we play in, so that all of us investors have more capital, more options, different loan products now available, so that we can do what we do, which is buy property, right? And so he was the first one to securitize and sell a pool of loans, fix and flip loans to on the private in the private market. So before our loans have been rated, there's a big section of the marketplace that can't invest and buy our loans, buy these securities because they're not rated. So John Beecham again was kind of like the first to put out a rated securitization in our space. So he's out there kind of on the road marketing it to sell it. And once he sells it, hopefully it does well, then it'll pique everyone's attention. That like all the eyeballs that were sitting on the sidelines waiting for them to play in our space and put money into our space, now they can, because it's rated. The asset is now rated, right? So um that's big. It's big for us, as on the private lending side, and also as investors, because what does that mean? That means more money can come into our space and our terms should get better, substantially better. So much better that to a point where maybe even perhaps DSCR loans, you know, that we were once doing in like the 5% range, 5, 6%, right? When the rates start to come down, and especially if more capital is coming into our space, who knows? We might price better than conventional banks or other lenders who are doing DSCR and non-QM lending, right? Like the private lending space, which used to be known as the hard money space, used to be known as kind of like your last option, now might shift to being one of your first options when it comes to buying property, because of guys like John Beecham, pioneers of our industry, who are, kind of blazing the trail and getting out there and teaching all these institutional investors about what we do as in real estate investors and as private lenders, right? So it's all looking, really good for investors and lenders for the years to come. So hopefully everybody's, you know, kind of watching, and it's not really big news until, it might take a little bit of time for the rates and the terms to start to, you know, for us investors to start to see it, but it's coming for sure. So just wanted to give that update. And really there's still a big question mark, I'd say, is the feeling behind all the economists and their opinions. Yesterday's call was pretty optimistic, but with some caution flags out there, and who knows, it's election year, so things can usually do get crazy during election year. So I think they're saying 2024 might be another kind of year of feeling out, before they start to drop rates maybe towards the end of the year or early into 2025. So we'll see. But either way, I think we'll be ready because having conversations like this. So does anybody have any questions about what I just talked about, having a rated security in our space? I'm still learning a lot too, so hopefully um I'll be able to answer. If not, I'll definitely get the answers to those questions. Yep. So Devin and Natasha, how's it, guys? New financial institutions for investors. Yeah, so exactly. Hi. Are you Natasha?
Yeah,
Oh, good. Yeah. You are right. Are you guys with 101 Financial?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So right? You understand how money moves, how it works, and yeah, when we have these rated if this pool of loans does well for John, then it could be huge for us, all of us. There's life insurance companies that want to throw a lot of money into our space, but they just can't because it's the loans are not we're not rated. But if this one does well, and it could go the other way too, right? If it goes really bad, then like we might not have another shot at this. So everybody cross your fingers. But I trust that, John's the real deal. He knows what he's doing. He opened up this space, for all of us to play in. And yeah. But how are you doing, Devin? There's Devin.
Hey, how are you, Corey? I'm doing great.
Oh, it's good to see you guys. I would see you guys come on here and there. So thank you guys for joining us on Fridays.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. Exciting
what brought you guys
information.
to is it 101 Financial and maybe Richie guys or Karen
Yeah,
or
absolutely. So we've been kind of following you from Richie guys, because I know he started off with you guys at first, and that was when you guys first started Coffee Talk. I think it was like during the pandemic time.
yeah.
So we were on there at that time, and then we kind of dropped off for about a year, just busy with work. And recently I was able to retire last year of June. So
Wow.
yeah, now just really putting,
Congratulations.
yeah, just got done with New Wealth Advisory, the Seattle campus this past BIB, which I think it was like 2 weeks ago, the beginning of February with Melina guys. And yeah, just putting our feet to it. And there's Karen. I miss Karen. She's doing
Hi,
big
Karen.
things. She's doing amazing. But yeah. So and then Karen's 101 too. So just following like-minded people that are doing amazing in the in with partnering with like-minded people. So
Yeah,
excited.
absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
that's awesome. You're able to make it up there. I was telling Kiko, I was like, bro, you guys look like you're having too much fun without us. Like, you guys gotta settle down.
I wish we could stay because Karen and them went, we left on Monday to come back to Kauai, but Karen guys stayed and they all went touring all over Seattle. They looked like they had a ton of fun.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
know.
we
I
did.
saw the picture.
Too
Karen,
much
too
fun.
much fun. Too much fun without us, Karen.
Yeah, with
Oh,
Keiko's energy, who couldn't have fun, right?
I know.
Totally.
No, and I haven't even seen the place yet, and we gotta go see it. But I was telling him, oh man, right in the mall, right next to Nike is like actually I've never thought about doing that. That's a good idea though. It's a lot of foot traffic. So
It's pretty creative. There was a lot of I guess inquiries and people who curious about it. So had couple I had a bunch of people like walk in when we was doing our classes. So it was kind of good.
oh
But
yeah, they just walk in. Yeah.
yeah, but I think as Kiko was saying, we already what do you call outgrow it already. So he's kind of looking for
Yeah.
another space now.
Oh, maybe we kick Nike out, yeah?
tried- To get next door, and I'm not sure how it's gonna be, but they want to buy the whole mall, which is
Oh,
good.
here we go. They
They
like
have
heard
some
that.
big ideas, yeah.
Yeah. No, well,
Noah is the master of grand ideas.
yeah. Yeah.
It
Then it's
is,
up
but
to
he tends
his
to make it happen,
partners to
though.
execute.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does. A little too quick sometimes, yeah. You know, I was like, oh, he's like, hey, we're gonna get this space for New Wealth in the mall. And the next thing I know, he's already got pictures. I'm like, whoa, okay. And then all of a sudden you guys are there already. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
but
We're looking forward
that's
to the
awesome.
biggest one pretty soon too.
Yeah, is there anything that you can talk about on that or what?
It's up in the air right now, but we're kind of processing everything. It was supposed to be earlier this year, but again, I guess because of first time opening in Seattle, there were a lot of things that they gotta work out, all the kinks and all
Yeah.
that. They're projecting probably December. So
Oh,
we're gonna
this
help,
year?
yeah, this year. So we're gonna try to help open up. We're gonna open up that November one. I mean, Nevada one, sorry.
Another one, yeah. In December. Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
that's enough time. That way
Yeah.
to get it right. Yeah.
Yeah, he was saying, in the meantime, maybe we can use the Kiko Capital office for now to do our bibs.
Of course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, just in the meantime. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, space. Yeah, it'll
Well,
be fun.
did you I'm actually heading up there tomorrow. Karen. Well, I take the red eye, so I won't be there till Sunday. You're in Vegas right now, right?
No, I just got back the other day.
Oh, you got back. Oh, okay, shucks.
Yeah, I was in Vegas, and then Kikoa guys are in Vegas right now, actually.
Yep.
Yeah, for that other property that he just picked up.
So I'm thinking, well, one day we'll meet up and we can, because anyway we can help, yeah, for sure.
Right? Yeah, yeah. But
Vegas
we'll be
doesn't
out
yeah,
often, so
you know?
we're excited. Kind of scary getting outside your box, but we have to do it, right? We're gonna live once.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, and I
Yes.
think where the level you're at right now, Karen, is just gonna be exponential, like, just going this way from there.
And
She's
that's
doing
the goal
awesome.
now with everybody. That's the goal, because we cannot stay stagnant. Because otherwise, like for me, I feel bored on Maui already. Just landing
Yeah.
here. Okay, now what?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly what Devin and I was talking about because after BIB, we live on Kauai and Kauai is so small and it's such a demand here for real estate because there's nothing, there's like no rentals, there's barely anything on the market. And so really finding those deals are gonna be harder for us, and our daughter's in Washington. So that's kind of what we talked about as well. Should we go Washington? Should we stay home? So like you said, we feel stagnant too, when you stay on a small island and you're like, okay, is there enough, enough to help people and also feed the leads? But yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think moving to the mainland is more opportunity. And the
Yeah,
price
agreed.
is a little cheaper than here right now.
I know, right? Yeah.
Yep. Well, and actually Washington and Vegas are great markets. If you want high volume with a good mix between, equity, deals and cash flow deals, then Washington State and Las Vegas, Nevada is kind of where it's at, on the West Coast. If you want to get a nice kind of hybrid market that you can kind of play in both realms, you can flip some houses, you can wholesale some deals, but you can also start building a portfolio that's in a, hopefully in a cash flow area. But as we know for Vegas and Seattle, it's like those markets are emerging, right? So they're emerging markets. So these like, yeah, if there's a place to build a portfolio, it's kind of in emerging cash flow markets, right?
Mhm.
California, I don't know anymore, man. And it's since we're on the lending side, we see kind of both sides, right? So we've seen where it's great for the investor and sucks for the lender, because their laws favor, the investors. And one of our clients was in a big dispute with one of the national lenders and he won. So he's one of Alex's guys, and it was in California, and you could tell like we feel like the laws favored him, right? So it definitely matters where you're putting your money, where you're investing. You know, it's not just the market, but now I've learned we got to look at all the different players on the field that can influence the game, you know, and your investment. And the Federal Reserve is one I've learned the hard way. That was a big lesson through COVID. I was just talking to our mentor the other day, John Hornick, and because I was telling him all like I couldn't, you know, I was surprised how wrong I was, you know, and yeah, it's just because I didn't factor in there's a player on the field with the Federal Reserve that doesn't control the market, but they can definitely influence the market, right, as we've seen over the last maybe year and a half, going on 2 years with the interest rate hikes. So, but I mean, if you look at what they're doing, it's kind of like, wow, kind of impressed if they can soft land this thing, like how they were talking about. I mean, kind of impressed, but at what cost, right? Because how much trillions of debt did we have to go add on to our national debt to get here, to get to the soft landing, right? And when are we gonna have to pay for that? If ever, I don't know. But
Where do you foresee like the market? I mean, as in terms of rates, it's
I think they're gonna hold
gonna
for
look.
a while. And John was saying towards the end of the year, perhaps they might start dropping rates. But even he said, he's like, you know what, anything can happen right now because it's election year. You know, there's wars going on. There's crazy bills trying to be passed, like, you know, so he said like if we can go keep the pace we're going, then perhaps at the end of the year they'll start, you know, dropping rates. But Jerome Powell has been very honest and hasn't gone away from his word, you know, like where, you know, the 2%, that's the target, and we're not there yet. So he's not gonna drop rates yet, it seems. And even when 2% seemed so far out of sight, like he did not stop raising rates until we started, you know, going down, down, down. And now that we're close, then he stops, you know. So at some point over the last year and a half or 2 years of this going on, we kind of just gotta listen to him. You know, like whatever he says sounds like that's what he's gonna do, you know. So I would say just like go like right after COVID, prepare for the like, you know, plan for the worst and hope for the best. That's always kind of been our I guess mantra. Yeah. But wherever there's transition, there's opportunity too. So where is the opportunities you know, moving? Like where is the opportunity? And you know, like the you know, the care home side is there's opportunity there. That's going to be I think a sector, a niche that's going to emerge to be a pretty large marketplace. I feel, and there's going to be a huge need. There already is, because we were underwriting a deal that was going to be a care home, and so we looked at, you know, you have to look at all things. You look at the comps, and you make phone calls, like, and sure enough, they got wait lists for 10 years right now. And it's like,
Wow.
wow. Like, and I think it was that Kahala place that we checked in at. Maybe it was another place, but there was, yeah. So there's definitely a demand. So I'd say that you guys are looking in the right place, Natasha. Yeah. Well, that was
Yeah,
Iris.
funny. One of our instructors, actually Shan, called that probably about a good 7 years, 8 years ago. She called that you know, investing into elderly or what do you call that?
Care homes and yeah.
Like care homes. Yeah. She said that's gonna be like the new thing, right? Because there's gonna be such a demand for that with all the baby boomers coming up, you know, and needing to go into care homes, and they're like one of the highest paying you know, for rent or for care. And so that's interesting.
Yeah.
You know.
And it is expensive, but it's kind of, and people, you have to look at it, right? Like it's expensive. It's 10,000, a month. Like that's a lot. That's huge. Not many people can afford that. But you kind of have to have, if you're in such short supply of these houses, it kind of has to be very lucrative to draw in more people like ourselves, right? To take the risk, to be the one to, purchase the asset, stabilize it, put the right people in there and manage it properly. Like that's a lot of risk and it takes a lot of upfront money for that.
Right.
So it has to make sense, right? Especially if we're low supply. So yes, it's very expensive. Like I've had my grandmother, she had to go into care and it was like 10,000 a month. I couldn't believe it. That's what really opened my eyes. Like, wow, this is, but then like looking at her, situation and what she got and, it's like, wow, that's necessary. I see the economics behind it, why it has to be that. It's not easy running, a care home. There's expenses, there's overhead, and there's risk, and there's
Right.
need, so to bring more, it has to be attractive, it has to be lucrative, right? So yeah, I get
Yeah,
it.
it's
It's expensive.
interesting. We have a family member that actually comes from a really well-off family, and his sister's a judge, and they come from money. And even then, with him being in a long care home right now with 24-hour care, it's still so expensive. And so therefore, even having a paid off home, he had to put his home in a reverse mortgage to pay for the care, so that the asset would pay for his care in the care home. So it's really interesting to see, how the baby boomers didn't expect that inflation as well, with the economy, and then with their social security and what assets they have right now. We're seeing that they're using that to leverage care homes.
Yeah. Well, that is definitely a space that's emerging. And I think if we can, whenever there's uncertainty too, it's like you're kind of at that brink, like something's gonna happen, something's gonna break. So you kind of gotta look at both sides, like which way is it gonna go? And I'm actually really stumped on this one. I'm either stumped or I got PTSD from COVID to make any big decisions, and quickly and drastically, because maybe making a move is not the right move right now. Making a big move isn't the right move. I don't know. This is the first time I'm trying to like look at both sides, and see, try to see if there's opportunity or if there's uh any risk that we're exposed to. And recently it's been hard. It hasn't been easy to see what's coming, so it's almost like you have to just make the best decisions with the data that you have, which is kind of all the time. But I was telling our team and like about how sometimes I make hard decisions. And I'm still learning this about myself too, but and I refer to it as the abyss. And I told him maybe it's a little dramatic, but I don't think it hurts to be dramatic when you're making a hard decision. But the way I make hard decisions sometimes is like I put myself into the abyss, whatever that is, for that decision. And I bask in it. I live there, and I get caught, I don't leave. I don't leave the abyss until I'm comfortable, until it's not unknown to me anymore. And it's not, so I've accepted what fate could hold, right? And then that gives me courage to make a hard decision with the data that I have. So in investing, sometimes it comes down to that, having to put yourself into the worst case scenario, live there until you feel comfortable with it, until it feels like that's life. And then, come back to reality and make your decision, right? Usually in investing, you don't have to hit those moments in a hard decision. Usually like your training, your data, your knowledge, your network will tell you what to do, if you're open and watching what's going on. But recently, yeah, I'm kind of like, I'm leaning on mentors. I'm watching the data. I'm watching the news. I'm going back to my fundamentals. I'm, everything. And I still don't have that yet, that direction, so, and maybe that means sometimes you don't make a move. Sometimes your best move is no move in investing and entrepreneurship. But that's what makes it so great is it's and unpredictable is you never know. A lot of times you're wrong. And it's just can you live in the abyss of the wrong of the wrong decision? Is that can you survive there, or is that gonna take you out? Right. Anyway, so that it reminded me of a lesson I've learned about myself, but also that I'm kind of putting to the team because I started to realize how I make hard decisions. And sometimes I just live in that abyss, the worst case scenario. I stay there and fantasize about what life is like in that, and until I feel comfortable with it, and then I make a hard decision. So hopefully that helps some people. It helps me.
Yeah,
'Cause,
absolutely. That's great feedback.
yeah, if you're an entrepreneur, right, Natasha,
Mhm.
like you knew, like there's gonna be many hard decisions, many hard
Yeah,
decisions.
I think over the years, there's so many opportunities that came my way, but I'm a bit more analytical. So like I want to make sure that I'm right before jumping in. Um, and then it tends to hold me back more, I feel. And I don't end up jumping in and I'm like, oh, I wish I did. But then when you look 5 years back or 2 years back, you're like, I'm kind of glad I didn't, I'm kind of glad that I analyzed
Yep.
it and was like, I took the back seat. Because uh God always has a different plan and purpose for us and he knows the right time. So
Amen.
yeah.
Well, I have some notes here from NPLA actually that I didn't cover. So some of the notes they had Rick Sharga on. I forget what his position was in his company does, but they watch all the data too. Um, and so he said they're starting to see signs of consumer distress. Consumer credit, I believe, is at an all-time high right now. And they're starting to see defaults and delinquencies increase. So even though the housing market, is holding up, there still is some data showing that there is distress out there, with more people being more and more in debt, and delinquencies and defaults, on the rise. So they're watching that because that can bleed into, the housing market, right? That's one of the first, like if you can't pay your mortgage or your rent, then it all trickles up from there, right? So, and they also said that last year only about 70,000 properties were flipped, which is the lowest known to date across the nation. So 70,000 across the nation is the lowest known to date. I don't know what the highest is. I would have liked to know that, but that makes sense because, and that's what it felt like last year. Was like, man, what happened to everyone? Like everyone's like just crickets out there, and part of it is because like they're referring to last year as when the housing market froze, and I feel that's such a great depiction of it because that's what it felt like. Sellers didn't want to put their houses on the market because they didn't want to sell and have to go get another mortgage at like double the rate or triple the rate, and buyers were put on the sidelines because they couldn't afford it, right? So it's kind of like when the housing market froze and volume went down substantially. So that's interesting that they're tracking that 70,000 flipped properties, and I'm guessing that they are pulling that info off of data from properties that were bought and sold within 12 months, probably, 12 to 18 months maybe, would be a good sign probably for a flipped property. So anyways, that's just another little nugget they put out there. And then yeah, John Beecham, first ever rated security. So there's a lot of news in the private lending side. Like the industry has not stopped. It has not slowed down. You know, like there were some big players that got taken out because turns out they weren't, you know, operating properly. They're too aggressive, like Civic. You know, Civic is now owned by Rock. Rock bought Civic last year. They also bought Finance of America, their private lending arm. So Eric Abramovich, who's the founder and CEO, has been on a tear, just taking out market share. And the reason why he bought Civic was Civic is a West Coast lender, you know, and Rock's, you know, in the heart of New York. And so Eric's been wanting to get the West Coast business, so it's his opportunity, I guess. So I don't know if they're still operating under Civic. Do you guys know? I thought I saw that they're still doing loans. So
I think I saw something too, and that they're still doing stuff under Civic's name.
Yeah, they are. I'm still getting all their emails.
oh, okay. Well, looks like they're fixing it up then. So that's good. You know, that's we know Eric. You know, Eric's a friend of ours. We've done deals with Eric, and that's another bit of news is I was honored to be elected to sit on the advisory council for the NPLA as well. I'll be in a special, what they call a special focus seat, which is to basically be a good number two is what we call it, you know, and they added 2 more seats for kind of smaller to mid-sized lenders to come in because they didn't want it to just be the good old boys club, which is kind of what it was turning out to be. But honestly, I think it's necessary because the good old boys club are all the guys who deserve to be pushing the industry of hard money and private money forward, you know, and that is John Beecham from Turok. That's Eric from Rock. You know, Jeff Tesh is the CEO and founder of RCN, if you guys heard of them. And then Jeff Tennyson, who is the founder and CEO of Lima One. So I get to sit next to some of like our industry leaders and pioneers of our space and leaders, you know, and I just get to learn, you know, and honestly, the way I think, because we're a young company, we're a small company, we definitely qualified, and honestly, I am fit for this seat. And I have earned it, you know, it's clear in the room. And but still the way I approached it was that, you know, I'm gonna be a good number two, you know, and that's leadership too. That's leading from the back, right? Many people mistake leadership as the person calling the shots from the front, and that's very important. But to earn your way there, it's never about leading from the front. It's about leading from the back, you know, serving and sacrifice. And if you just focus on that, you end up leading from the front anyways, whether you wanted it or not, you know, and that's a room full of leaders. And so I'm going to do my role, you know, and be a good number two and lead from the back. So it's a huge honor, and hopefully I'll learn a lot of lessons that I can share with everybody. But it's exciting because the private lending industry is a very new space. You know, it's blazing a lot of trails. I think that one day the private lending space may originate more loans in the conventional space. Like, I honestly believe that if the tides turn with this new rounds of capital coming in, it's possible. So not only, you know, am I able to sit next to these pioneers of our industry, but it's at a time too where our industry, I feel, is just on the brink of being noticed mainstream and hopefully traded one day publicly. where, you know, anyone can invest in our space. So that'll change everything, guys. That'll change everything for real estate investors. So I'll share as much as I can share from our meetings, and hopefully give us an edge, you know, out there in the field. I don't know, Leila, if you got any other notes that was given on the call, or you, Alex, NPLA.
What's that?
NPLA, do you have any notes to share with the Coffee Talk fam? Yeah, we talked about that. Yep. That was the most.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think the securitization of, you know, our space is the hugest news from that call, because the door is wide open now for, you know, the capital to get cheaper, because they're able to bring in more funds from, you know, insurance companies and different lending platforms that used to only, you know, work in conventional. So, I mean, I can't wait to see what it does. I'm curious, the same as you know, how much money is that going to bring in?
yeah, it's gonna be real interesting. Hopefully by the time March, I think in March, the first week of March, we're gonna be in Miami with all of them. And hopefully we have some news by then that it was a great, you know, deal. And if it is, then I think it's going to open up the floodgates for a lot of you know, capital providers. And it's like, for us, for guys like us, we're not going to see the benefits for a little while, you know, but the guys closer to the money, like John and Eric and Jeff Tennyson, those guys are probably going to make big moves to make a move on this while it's, you know, hot and pop and cool and popular. You know, it's so hopefully it's a good deal, but we'll keep everybody updated.
I think it's going to bring more standardization to the processes of closing our type of loans, investor loans. Because I know that, you know, in the past year or so, just the different committees that have been working together to kind of put together like a I'm on the best practices committee. So we put together a bunch of documents that standardizes, you know, our best practices in closing these types of loans to prepare for a situation like this where we become securitized, because we do definitely want to keep regulations, you know, we want to stay under the radar, and by doing all this work beforehand, that's how we achieve that. We don't want too many hands in the bucket telling us, you know, how we have to do everything. So I think you'll see a little more of a consistent process among the different lenders that you guys work with because of it, in my
I hope
opinion.
so. That's a great point, actually. And I hope so, because it'll make our job easier. Because right now, our guys over here, like, they not only do they have to, you know the deal, know how to structure the deal, but they have to understand all of our partners' credit boxes, their guidelines, their stipulations, what they can't do, even personalities behind those companies. You know, like, one guy might be real, you know, hard on track record while the other is credit, you know, and one company might not be motivated to close as much anymore, you know, so it's constantly changing. But what Leila's talking about is what the purpose behind the NPLA is, to standardize, to try to standardize and pursue self-regulation of the private lending industry rather than being regulated by the government, right? And because a lot of times the government, they don't understand our loans, and they don't understand your guys, like, our needs as real estate investors. You know, they don't know how we work, and that these loans, even though, yes, they're in double-digit interest rates and they're on balloon payments, right, and they're personally guaranteed full recourse, like, they see that and they're like, whoa, why are you charging so much, and why is this such an aggressive loan? Well, it's like, one, this is B2B. You know, we're not lending to grandma down the road. You know, this is we're lending to other businesses so that they can grow their business, right? And so it's a different consumer and it's a different product, right? So, but if there's no association like the NPLA, then the government's just going to come in there with a bunch of new laws and kind of just stifle our industry. You know, if they cripple the money, it's going to hurt everyone. So that's why the NPLA is such a important association, is because it's kind of fighting for on behalf of the small business owners, which is all of us. Like, we just want to flip houses sometime, you know, build a portfolio and you know, find financial freedom for ourselves, our families, and all our loved ones. And the NPLA, I feel, it's not just because, you know, we're members. I really feel it's a very important organization in our space. So I just want to share that, because when I'm sitting in the, you know, we go to these conferences, I'm sitting there, I'm looking at, you know, the pioneers of our industry on a capital markets panel. And all I can think about is, man, I wish all of our friends knew this, you know? So I feel like it's almost hard, because it's almost like you get the news ahead, you know, because it starts with the money. And so the money is gonna tell us which direction our industry is gonna kind of sway, you know. And so when I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, man, how many of our friends are not aware of this information and what's going on, how the money moves, which dictates how our industry kind of moves. So I know not everybody can fly to these events, and they're not cheap. Believe me, it takes a big chunk out of our budget to go to these things every year. But it's so necessary, you know, and we've built our entire business going to that conference just with the relationships there. So if ever you guys are interested, you know, in joining us on one, I'd highly recommend it. You know, it's not cheap, but
There's special pricing for like an associate attendee or something.
okay,
where-
so we could give out like a special price.
Yeah, and I mean, you might not include everything that comes with, like, if you're a lender, but we can give you the information, no problem.
Yeah, if anyone's ever interested, because I know, like, going to these events, it is different. It's like you have to dress like, for guys, suit and tie, or not tie. You don't have to have a tie, but just suit for sure. So it's a different type of event. So if you gotta go to one with us, you know, like as friends and stuff, make it a little less intimidating, then that door is always open. So the first one I went by myself, because Kikoa was somewhere, and that's where I met Alex. I met Alex at our first one. And I always tell this story because it was a big lesson I learned. He was my hero at the conferences when I first started going, because I'm an introvert, you know, and I never wore a suit in my life until I went to that conference. And, you know, here comes Alex beelining right across the field, you know, and just introduces himself. Really didn't know that kind of like saved me, because I'm an introvert. I'm not the one to initiate conversation, you know. So when now that I've been on the other side, you know, I tell our guys, like, when you're out there networking at these events, you know, like, most people try to go to the guy who has all the information or all the resources, or, you know, they gravitate there. And I tell them, you know, why not look for the introverts? It's Operation Save the Introverts, you know, because you can be their hero and go initiate conversation with them sitting on the sideline, and you know, be their hero for one, so immediately get them to like you. Say, oh, this is my hero, someone's talking to me, right? And it's the KLT principle. You know, you really just need to get someone to know, like, and trust you, and that's how you do good business. And if you can be their hero right off the gun, because you help save them from being a wallflower in the networking event, then you know, you're already ahead. And then plus you can get your warm up in, you can get your reps in. And introverts typically aren't high energy and taxing of energy, so they're easy to talk to once you start talking to them. But thank you, bro. if I haven't thanked you before for being my hero.
Anytime, bro, got you.
Well, Kiola, how's it, bro? You saw your question a while back. You were asking lowest in the history at 70,000 sales in all of US. Yeah, so that was nationwide. So 70,000 flipped properties in the US. Hey, what's up, bro?
What's
It's
up, Corey? Long time.
yeah, a long time, bro. It's good to see you. Are you
Yeah, you
still
too,
here
man.
on Oahu?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Okay. Bro, we
I
gotta
took
grab
a short
lunch or
break from
something.
work.
Nice.
What's that?
We gotta grab lunch or something. You still got the same number.
Oh, for sure. Sure. I do, but I tried to message you and I guess you changed your numbers. I don't think you
I
got
got the
any
same
of my
number.
messages.
I'll
The
check.
3434.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Sure.
get lost
Yeah,
in my
let's do
messages,
lunch.
bro, sometimes. So sorry if I might have missed it. But
Nah, it's all
blame
good.
later. Yeah.
If you can, you can always reach out to me and then I'll just
Yeah.
knock.
How I contact you, Lila? I know you said I'll send you my information or your email or a text or here in the chat.
Yeah,
In the
yeah.
chat your email, and then I will send you, I'll reach out to the MPLA and see what that is.
Okay, cool.
You can learn a lot from introverts. Amen to that.
I'm an introverted extrovert.
Yeah, we just making up titles now.
Like, once you know me, I don't shut up.
Oh, that's true.
Evan's
Me
an
too.
introvert.
Oh, yeah.
I
He's
like to
quiet.
think I'm observant. I observe
Yeah.
my space and then I know how to interact. Because once it comes out, there's no pulling it back.
Yeah. The nice
I
thing about
feel like being
introverts, then
Asian.
the nice thing about introverts when you have a husband and wife's the opposite. He'll catch things that I might not have caught. So
Yeah.
because
Oh,
he's
that's
quiet.
good. Yeah. All right on. Well, right on, guys. Does anybody have any? I totally skipped over leads, needs, and good deeds. So if anybody has any leads, needs, good deeds, anyone like join us maybe on the next conference. That one's in Atlantic City though, kind of far. And everybody was grumbling about Atlantic City, and we went to Atlantic City, and I see why they were grumbling.
It was a little sketchy.
It's definitely not Vegas, that's for sure. But yeah. Anyways, I mean, it's still a place that we haven't been, so it was great. We'll have a great time this time coming around. It's a long trip though. Really long trip. All right, guys. Leads, needs, good deeds. Anything? Thank you, Tasha, for saying hi and jumping on. Kiola, it's good to see you, bro. We'll link up. And Karen, we'll see you in Vegas hopefully soon. We'll get that Seattle New Wealth going, huh? Right on, guys. Happy Aloha Friday. You guys take care. See you guys next week. Hello, everybody.
Guys, have a good
We
one.
hope.